Hey, good Wednesday morning. It is just after 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Michael Clark here with BAM Weather with your latest long-range forecast update. If you didn't get a chance to go and check out the video I put out yesterday, talked a lot about the updated summer forecast thoughts and kind of the pattern that we're dealing with. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today, more so what to expect in the next couple of weeks. All right. As we do see a pattern developing conducive for these typical strong summertime, thunderstorm clusters. We put out this graphic last week. I still think it's pretty valid. Overall, we may need to fine tune exactly where it's going to set up, but nonetheless, we think we're getting into a pattern that can be conducive for these late night, early morning thunderstorm clusters that bring damaging winds, heavy rains, and all the things here later here next week. So we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. I want to take a look here at just observed rainfall. Again, this is over the last 7 days. We kind of touched on this yesterday. But a lot of folks here across portions of Iowa, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the rains have been a little bit more sporadic, not necessarily as widespread or as beneficial, especially kind of in a lot of corn here, western, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, a lot of eastern Iowa, and southern Minnesota. Now, that's going to change today, we believe here, as we're looking at, we'll go in here and look at current radar. This is going to be an area of showers and thunderstorms that will start to probably blossom and develop and kind of extend in coverage here throughout the day, and offer up the ability for not only possibly some stronger storms, but some locally heavy rain here across portions of north central Iowa, southern Minnesota. All right, and you can see here looking at the 24-hour rainfall forecast. Again, this is a product you can get inside of Clarity. The map updates every hour, and it goes out 24 hours. So this is the next 24 hours and the projected rains. So some good rain here across northern Illinois, southwestern Wisconsin. All right. Overall, the severe risk tomorrow, it will continue to set up across the Central Plains and down across portions of south central Texas. And then day 3, we see more of this, Central Plains suggestions of severe weather, western Nebraska, western Kansas, panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas for the potential of some stronger storms there. Okay. So again, real quick, that future radar, I just want to show you because we do see those thunderstorms expand in coverage today and offer up the ability for some rain in the area that's going to need it, or that does need it a little bit here going forward. Okay, so let's take a look here at a couple things. First thing, I'm going to move this here, and we're going to start out with just, I want to start out with just rainfall potential over the course of the next few days. And we'll use the European for this in kind of 24-hour chunks. You can see how easy it is to navigate here over on Synoptic. But let's take a look at this and look. Let me move this way real quick. Come down here and look at these 24-hour increments in rainfall. All right. So again, there's this wave coming in through this afternoon, this evening across Minnesota, Iowa. And then we're going to get into day 2. Here's day 2. You can see the threat shifting east across Oklahoma, Texas, again, 24-hour rainfall. And we'll go into day 3 rainfall, again, continuing to see good coverage across Minnesota. And then that storm system from the south expanding Missouri, Illinois, into Indiana. This is going to come in here this weekend. Probably going to be a pretty wet weekend across the Ohio Valley, especially Saturday into Sunday. You can see 24-hour totals approaching 1 inch of rain across southeastern Missouri, Illinois, much of Indiana, and the Ohio River Valley. Again, that's Saturday, and then we'll take it out to Sunday. You can see that heavy rain continuing across the mid-Atlantic and into the north and east. And still, scattered rain chances here across the Central Plains too. I mean, it's not an inactive look here, as you're seeing plenty of thunderstorm and locally heavy rainfall risks here as you get into Tuesday. So a 7-day rain total right now, if you look at the evening European model, it looks like this. It sets up, again, a heavy rain this weekend across the Ohio River Valley. Heavy rains here across portions of Iowa, Minnesota, and South Dakota, and then continuing to see these heavy rain risks here across the South Central Plains as well. Okay, so We'll come back to this map in just a second. Let's take a look at the week 2 and 3, or week 1 and 2 outlooks, if you will. We have week 1 on the left. And we talked yesterday about kind of this permanent feature here in the Hudson Bay here as of recent and what that's been doing. It continues to be prevalent in week 2, and I'm going to talk more about that in just a second and what it means for the pattern next week. But note week 1 and going into week 2, we get much warmer. The warmth looks to become a little bit more expansive. That's the idea right now. And you know, looking at the ensemble data and multiple different versions, we can look at this because we know we've had difficulties getting the warm departures, the very hot summer-like air to appear. The greatest probabilities for that to occur next week are going to be here. All right. Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, the portions of the Southeast, where you're going to be looking at a 60 to 80% chance of above normal temperatures. So it's not the warmest signal we've ever seen by any means, but certainly seeing that arise. And then we look at week 2. I want you to focus on the precipitation pattern here, because the flow pattern in week 2 really is going to be suggestive of at times southwest flow and at times northwest flow. The models don't handle these patterns well. There's going to be chaos in the weather forecasts for sure. And they produce thunderstorms. They produce storms. There's no question about it. And that's kind of what I wanted to illustrate to you today, is looking at this upper air pattern and what it's capable of doing. Okay, let's go to the 500 millibar height anomaly. And again, I'm showing just the European, but I want to show you primarily what happens here. You can kind of see it. What happens is we get some south central U.S. ridging to develop. Right, this is an area of high pressure. It's going to be very warm. We've got this big trough up over the Hudson Bay, and it's developing a trough in the Pacific Northwest. And what happens is you shoot pieces of energy up and over the periphery of that ridge. And as that ridge expands and contracts in size, you get thunderstorm clusters to go around the periphery of it. You can kind of see the troughs ejecting over the top. And that's kind of the prevalent pattern. And in these types of patterns, you get a substantial amount of moisture and energy. So for example, you're going to see very high CAPE values. You see these purples showing up, and even these teal colors. This is explosive levels of energy for thunderstorm development. And that really starts to happen in that 7 to 15 day period. Right, you even see the greens popping up there, but that energy rotates around the periphery of that ridge, and it just offers up probably multiple chances of thunderstorm clusters, which again is why we kind of talked about the potential for these Dur ratios, these damaging thunders or clusters of thunderstorms. What I did is on the left, I plotted the notable June Dur ratios, right? We've got years like 2012, 2013, 2015, 2016, 2017. There were years where we had some big Dur ratios in there. And the dominant factor, all right, there's 3 key driving factors. Number 1 is the ridge here in the U.S. That's key component number 1. Key component number 2, Hudson Bay vortex, which we talked a lot about yesterday, based our outlook on that. And component number 3 is the Pacific Northwest trough. These are all the Dur ratio events combined, and this is the look that they would give you. So then what we do is we go and look at the forecast. This is the 11 to 15 day forecast from the EPS. And you start to look for key components. There's key component 1, right? There's 2, and then there's 3. I mean, these matches are almost identical. So the odds of seeing this west-southwest or west-northwest flow bring thunderstorm clusters and nasty ones at that into the picture here, especially into the 11 to 15, the odds are certainly high for that right now. We see all the models are agreeing to this. You've got the American ensemble, the European, and the Canadians all hinting at that pattern right now in that time frame. So best guess right now is probably June 20th through June 30th, right? Kind of highlight a 10-day window there. And then here's what we need to watch, right? Because here's that pattern suggestion in the North Pacific. This has already occurred. This was the pattern back on the 9th. We believe these patterns show up in the U.S. roughly about 17 days later. That's what we believe happens. Okay. And that's already occurring. We're going to see that happen. You take that out and watch the model here. Right here. There it is. There's that pattern I just showed you in the Pacific show up in the U.S. Okay. It's a little bit quicker. It's about 15 days later. And nonetheless, you call it 14 to 20 days. We see that pattern, but watch the trough follow through right here. And that's an indication of the ridge suppresses east a little bit, and a trough can work in. There may be an early July cold front we have to contend with that would bring cooler temperatures and an active pattern to open up the month of July. All right. Beyond that, it tries to suggest some ridging can return, but hell, maybe even an upper level low starts to develop and it gets cut off. That may be something we need to watch here as we get into the second week of July. So we'll keep watching that. Okay. Week 3 and 4 forecasts, you can see the suggestions. Look at the activity here in the Canadian prairies and in the grain belt for the 25th of June through the 1st of July. Same thing. And into the first week of July, 2nd through the 8th, it's active. Temperatures are warm, but that's because it's the pattern I just showed you. This is the week 3 forecast from the CFS. There's number 1, there's number 2, and there's number 3. That's a southwest or northwest flow, depending on where you're at underneath that ridge. Okay, and that is an active pattern suggestion nonetheless. Week 4, it tries to lift it. Persistence-wise, I'm not so sure I want to go with that just yet. So, July outlook, updated yesterday. Brett and John threw this out. Wetter than normal eastern grain belt, at to below normal precipitation central to western grain belt, much above in the deep south. And the temperature forecast right now is suggestive of, if anything, where there's a risk where the forecast could trend warmer, it would possibly be in this area here where ridging can come and go. But if we run fronts into this, July is going to be a month of potentially back and forth, at least starting out. So that's the latest for today. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.